So welcome to our preschool informational night. Hopefully you had a chance to visit some of our preschool classrooms this evening. So I'm going to kind of be back and forth from talking directly to you and then also moving my computer mouse around. Tonight's agenda started with a tour of the classrooms, but we're also going to talk about introducing our preschool staff, providing a brief overview of the preschool program, not only here at Cushman, but there's also one over at the Potter School, explaining the application and screening process because it is a little bit different than it's been in the past, as well as answer any of your specific questions about our program. So first and foremost, who are we all? So my name is Melissa McHenry. I'm the Early Childhood Director for the Dartmouth Public Schools, but also the Building Administrator here at the Cushman School specifically. I have a secretary. Her name is Donna LaMontagne, so if ever you have any questions about the application process, don't hesitate to give her a call or myself. Also on staff, you'll see some names. They are not here today, but I did want to make you aware that we have a school outreach worker here, as well as speech therapists and occupational therapists, physical therapists, and also a literacy specialist and coach. But most importantly, who are our preschool teachers? So what you're going to see is their classroom with the teacher and their teacher assistant. So I'm going to start with Mrs. Spicer, so if she could just stand up. There she is. She's downstairs here in this preschool classroom that's right across from the gym, and she has a teacher assistant who is Miss Sawyer. In addition, we have Miss Sam, so she is our preschool teacher upstairs. She has two teacher assistants, Miss Renata and Miss Molly, and there's her classroom on the side. We also have Mrs. Rodsky, so where is she? There she is. She is upstairs with Mrs. Cavallo as her teacher assistant. We also have Ms. DeCudo, there she is, and her teacher assistant, Ms. Zigio. And then Ms. Stenning is not here tonight, but her classroom was upstairs. It probably was the one classroom without anyone there. She is retiring next year, which we're so sad about because she was one of the originators of the preschool program here in the Dartmouth Public Schools way back when it was over at Quinn and at one point over in Crossroads. So she is retiring this year, but we do have Mrs. Festori down below. She was that one preschool classroom that was around the corner, and she has a teacher assistant by the name of Ms. Borowitz. Did I get everybody? I did. All right, so what is our preschool program and what do we do every day? Well, we educate the whole child and the development of every part of your child, from the creative arts to math and science, literacy, social studies, all of those foundational areas, both academic and social and emotional. How do we do that? So our curriculum is based on the Massachusetts state standards for preschool. And we do all of that learning through hands-on, creative arts, exploring, touching, feeling, really getting them into the learning through center-based activities and play. Our goal is to get them the foundational skills and readiness skills to be ready for kindergarten. Some of the curriculum programs that we use, Storytown is a literacy program that we use as a resource. Calendar Math is a math program, obviously, that we use as a resource. Handwriting Without Tears is a handwriting program that teaches, we begin to teach the students how to write their names with the goal that they are writing their name by the end of preschool. Second step is our social skills curriculum that both the teachers and our school outreach worker teach in all of our preschool classrooms. We have an ABC Music and Me, which incorporates letters and music, and a Lively Letters program, which teaches letters and sounds through great stories, songs, fun activities to go along with it. So what does a typical day in the life of a Cushman preschooler look like? Well, our day here begins at 9:05. The students come in, they go right upstairs. At Cushman, it's from here, this room right here. They walk upstairs to their classrooms, they get their own bags unpacked, jackets off, and they each have a cubby. So probably if you did the tour, you saw their cubbies, they'll have their name, and they'll be able to do that independently within a few days. Usually we start the day with a large group circle or morning meeting activity where the kids gather at the rugs in the classroom to talk about their night, get their day started, do some pre-readiness day things like calendar, talking about the weather, just a way to build a nice classroom environment and build those relationships. The day is filled with learning centers that balance play with academics, so you'll see some of them there, from science centers to math centers, to sensory table activities, play like kitchen center. So it's a nice balance between allowing them to play, which is developmentally appropriate, and teaching some skills necessary for kindergarten through those play activities. We have lunch here at the Cushman School, right here. So this is not only our gym, but it's also our cafeteria. So right now our tables are like benches, but they all fold back to make a typical table. Students have the opportunity to either bring in lunch from home or purchase a hot lunch here at school. And there's a variety of choices of things that they can purchase. And we provide you with a lunch menu every month, so that way you know what's being served and you can decide whether your child will buy lunch that day or bring it from home. We have lunch monitors and recess monitors along with our preschool teacher assistants here in the cafeteria to help support the students while they eat their lunch, opening milk containers, packages, and things like that. In addition, we have recess. Preschool has actually 3 recesses, 20 minutes apiece, 1 in the morning, 1 at lunch, and 1 in the afternoon. If it were light out, I'd show you our back playground, but we have some painted activities out there that the students can play, certain games with the support of parent volunteers or the recess monitors, as well as kind of play houses out there as well. There are times, depending on how crowded the community playground is, but we also will walk the students to the community playground as well and play, depending on weather and how many other families are out there, because it is a community playground, not just for our school. So there's also project time built into their day, which is often theme-based, seasonal-based, that they do in their classroom, and obviously story time, the most important piece, where they're listening to stories read aloud to them, and I encourage you to continue to do that at home as well. The more they hear those stories, the bigger their vocabulary will become and their literacy skills will be ready for kindergarten. So you can see them at the rug with Mrs. Spicer there listening to a story. We do have rest time built into our day. It occurs right after lunch and recess. It's about a 45-minute rest time. This is usually where the panic sets in for parents because they're like, my child doesn't rest anymore. They don't nap. This is going to be a tough time of the day for them. And no, half of our students nap, half of them don't. The only requirement is that they sit on their mats. They do not have to actually fall asleep. But it's a time where everybody can take a moment and relax their bodies and take that needed rest. We ask that you provide a crib-sized blanket for your child to use during nap time, but we provide the mats. You may have, during your tour, you may have seen some of the mats in cubbies already. We do have a snack time built into our day, typically in the afternoon, because our lunch is usually about 11:15. So by the time 2 o'clock rolls around, they're hungry again. So that is built into your day, into their day. So we ask that you would bring in a snack and a drink for them to enjoy during this time. Many of our classrooms are peanut-free, so depending on what the classroom looks like at the beginning of the year, we'd let you know of that. But we tend to be a peanut-free school overall. Dismissal is at 3:05. The children leave the building via the door right there, or this one here, depending on what classroom your child is in, or if they're on a special education van, they would get a ride back to their home. But we use these back doors here to dismiss by classroom. I'll talk a little bit more specifically about each one of those in a minute. Also part of their day, all of our preschool students get art, music, and gym. We also have a library time where we walk over to Southworth library for a story time each week. So that's something that all of them really enjoy. So a little bit more about the playground and recess. We do try to get them out every day. So have them dressed appropriately for the weather, even with an extra sweatshirt. We can always say, no, you don't need to bring your sweatshirt out if it warms up later on in the afternoon. But we do try to get them out there. Typically right now in the winter, we always watch weather.com for the feel-like temperature, because we don't let them go out if it's anything less than like 27, 28. So if that's the feels-like temperature. But we do want to get them out there. It's a wonderful opportunity for them to be creative, build those social skills, and just get some of their energy out as well. Family involvement, we do encourage parent volunteers. At the beginning of each school year, I do a parent volunteer kind of training to tell you the different areas that you can volunteer in the building, and it doesn't necessarily mean during the school day. So if you're a working parent, there are opportunities that you can get involved with the school from your home in prepping materials for special projects and things like that. But we do encourage parent volunteers at the preschool level. Right now I have parents that go out for recess to organize some games. So it's not just only working in the classroom that your child is in, but in a variety of areas. We also invite parents to come in and do read-alouds for the kids in the classroom on special days. Some of us have holiday parties or holiday performances that are done. And then, of course, graduation celebrations at the end of the school year. Our preschoolers go on a few field trips, so we've already been to the Silverbrook Farms for in the fall to pick pumpkins and apples, and then they also went to the Zeiterion to see a Curious George show. So we do try to get them out into the community. We also bring some of those activities in, so we have special visitors like firefighters, and even Santa has found his way to the Cushman school, so this is exciting. We also get together every month as a school. So if you don't know anything about Cushman, we're a pre-K and kindergarten school. So we get all of our preschoolers and kindergartners together once a month and have what we call an assembly, where we honor kids who are being role models in their classrooms. We talk about bucket filling. So you may have seen some bucket filling books and posters even hanging here. We talk a lot about that. It's our theme throughout the school, where we're working on kids being kind and filling each other's buckets, we call it. And I can talk more about that a little later. So a little bit more about the lunch. We do have a program called My School Bucks, where each child is going to be given a card. They think it's pretty cool because they think they have their own credit card or debit card, but it's not exactly that way. But they're able to just present that at the lunch counter, which is right in the back, but it's closed right now, and they get their hot lunch. But you as parents can put money on their account, and it does kind of work like a debit account. I have a high schooler right now, and now he's up to $35 a week, which is not what you're going to spend as a preschooler, but I have a growing boy, and so I put that in every week, and then I don't have to worry about sending cash into school with him. So it's a great way to kind of see not only how much is left in your child's account, but also what they're buying every time. With our little ones, it's a little easier, but you can see exactly how many snacks they're purchasing. Are they buying an extra dessert? And you can also put some restrictions on them where they can't buy dessert every day. Maybe dessert just happens on a Friday. So you as a parent can make those calls. I do encourage all of you who do end up registering your child to also fill out for the free and reduced lunch. You'd be surprised. I encourage everyone, regardless, to fill it out because there is a chance that you might be able to qualify for that program. So what are some of our safety rules? Many of you talked about it when I had to welcome you in, because we do keep all of our doors locked. You'll see our staff walks around with our IDs on us. That's the only way to get in. We're actually scanned in. So we take security very important, very seriously here. So all of our school doors are secured and monitored by our staff. For dismissal, we only dismiss to a parent or guardian, and bear with us at the beginning of the school year. We're going to ask everyone for their license at the door, just till we get to know you. So we want to connect your picture and your name. We realize that it's not always going to be a parent picking up. So if a grandparent's going to pick up that day, or an aunt or an uncle, we just ask that you write a note, give us the person's name, and we're also going to ask them for ID at the door as well. So just bear with us for the first few weeks of school, because dismissal does run slowly at the beginning of the school year till we start to get to know everyone's faces and make that connection. But even parents will have to sign their child out. So the teachers actually have a clipboard where you have to sign your name and sign your child out. Anyone who comes into the building, as far as a visitor or someone who volunteers, has to have what we call a query form on file. It's a background check on everyone who comes into the building. So as part of the registration packet, the query form is also on there as part of it. So I encourage you all to fill that out, because if you ever want to be a volunteer or come on a field trip or read aloud to the class, we're going to need to have that on file in order to allow you to come into the building. And we also have you wear a badge. So you won't have one of these, but you'll have a visitor's badge that we'll ask you to wear. We do not have parents walk their child to the classroom. So it ends up happening right at that door right there. That's where drop-off is in the morning. And their staff all set in place here in the auditorium to greet your child in. But we don't have parents coming in, because again, we would have to query check anyone who walks in. So it's nothing personal. It's not like we don't want to have you here and be welcoming, but we do have to take security seriously. Parent-teacher communication, there's a variety of ways where you get information. The biggest way is your child's backpack. So paper flyers go home, but we also utilize what's called the electronic backpack, which means all of you would get an email of all the flyers as well. So right now at the Cushman School, every Thursday, families at 4 o'clock get a Cushman electronic email with all of the flyers and information. So that means calendar of events, what we call Cushman News, anything and everything that we're doing in the school will come that way. We also have parent-teacher conferences where you can communicate with the teacher. Those usually happen the end of November, beginning of December. But all of us here on staff have similar emails. It's just our first name, last name, @dartmouthschools.org, and that's a way where you can constantly communicate with teachers. Many of them also use what's called the Remind app, which gets information directly out to you as far as what's going on in the classroom as well. So there's a variety of ways to get information. I do encourage you even to start now looking at the Cushman website. So it's the Dartmouth website, and you just select the school from the top, and you can kind of see what's going on, and oftentimes I'll try to post some pictures there. We also have a Cushman Twitter page as well, and someone's lucky enough, believe it's you, you're already up there, because I took some pictures of people who were coming. So as she looks at me horrified, what? But I try to do that as often as I can. So we have 6 preschool classrooms here and 1 over at the Potter School. And all of our preschool classrooms are inclusion classrooms. So what does that mean? They include both special education students as well as what we call peer partners. So right now our classrooms, or for next year, all of our classrooms will have a total of 15 students, 8 of which are considered peer partners, which just means that they have what we believe to be typically developing skills for a preschooler, and then we have 7 students who might be on what we call IEPs, or an individualized education plan. So it's a great way for those 2 groups of students to learn together, to grow and develop together. So all of our classrooms have that, and all of our preschool teachers are also special education teachers. They have that degree. So it benefits all of our students. Whoops. So this is usually the biggest piece. So the application and lottery process. So right now, and it actually started yesterday, up until March 15th, we are accepting preschool applications for any of our preschool peer role model slots. The application you can get right online on our website. They're also available at 8 Bush Street, which is our administration office, and I do have some here, both at Cushman and at Potter. All we ask is that you fill it out. It's one page, very simple to do, and then there's an email address that you can email it to, or some of you have been bringing it here and dropping it off, which is absolutely fine. If the number of applications is more than the number of slots that we have available here, we have to do it through a lottery system, which is literally pulling names. Preference is given to 4-year-olds. When I say 4-year-olds, I mean those that are turning 4 by September 1st, which means the following school year, they would be entering kindergarten. So I can't tell you how many 4-year-olds we're going to have. I don't know how many 3-year-olds we're going to have till all the applications come in. I'm not sure if we're going to have a lottery till all the applications come in. So it kind of depends on the number that I get. I can tell you that for the years I've been here, which is 4, we've had to do a lottery for those 4 years with a waiting list as a result. So the names will be pulled. We'll get that number of slots. Anyone's name pulled after that will be added to a wait list in the order in which they were pulled. Sometimes throughout the summer, if your child ends up on the waiting list, we see some movement. A child moves, a parent decides they're not going to come to Cushman, then I take them in order from the wait list. I can't tell you if there'll be any movement at all. In the past, I've seen movement over the summer. This year, I didn't see much at all. So it's the same waiting list that we had about mid-August. So it really just depends. But I encourage you to fill out the application, and you will know by the end of March, beginning of April, if your child got into the program or is on the waiting list. Okay? The way it works for both Potter and Cushman is Potter just has 1 class. I have 6. So we have to kind of balance the fairness there. So what we're going to do is pick a class of Potter families for the Potter school, 1 class here at Cushman, because that would be equal, and then all the rest of the students go into the pot and we just pick from here. So it gives the opportunity for Potter families to get into the Cushman preschool program as well. So really, you also have the opportunity to get into Potter as well, because it's considered a district preschool program, although we try to, we know that the North End needs a preschool, so for transportation purposes. So we want to make sure everybody has an equal chance. Anyone who turns in the application after that March 15th date automatically will get added to the wait list. Okay, so it's important that you get the application in between that February 4th and March 15th, because that means you're in the first round of the lottery. Anything after that gets added to that wait list. Okay. Just a few things to keep in mind. I think I've already said most of these, but you'll know by early April whether your child got accepted into the program or is on the waiting list. Again, anything after March 15th, you're just automatically added to the wait list. Regardless of whether your child gets in or is on the waiting list, we want to screen all of our preschool students, and we're going to be doing that in May. And I'm going to talk in the next slide what that screen looks like. If you were placed on a previous year's wait list, so I have a wait list going right now for this school year. If you're on that, that doesn't have anything to do with the new school year. Each year you have to reapply, okay? So what does the screening process look like? So right around May, we're going to ask you to bring your child in, either here or to the Potter School, and we're going to screen your child. It's a brief measure of their readiness skills in 3 areas. So fine motor, speech and language, and preschool readiness. On the date of the screening, so what will that look like? You'll bring your child in, or a grandparent can bring in if you can't and you're working, an aunt or uncle, another adult can bring your child in. We're going to try to transition them into one of our preschool classrooms where a speech and language therapist, occupational therapist, and preschool teacher will be there to do this quick screen. It's probably going to take about 45 minutes, about 15 minutes for each session. What that does is let us know if your child potentially might have a delay in any of those areas. So again, it's speech and language, occupational therapy, or preschool readiness. If that information does show that, I would probably be contacting you after that to say that we would like to do a further evaluation in one or all of those areas, which means more of a formal evaluation where this is a quick screen. Please note that if you're already considered for a peer role model slot, your child got in, this is not going to affect them getting into the preschool program. They're already there. It's not going to affect them on the waiting list. Nothing will change. Okay? Does that make sense? On top of the peer partner slots that we also have what's called special education slots. So like I told you, we have an inclusive preschool program, 8 peer role models to 7 IEP students. So our special education slots are slated for those students who are on IEPs with various delays. So for the most part, the special education students come in through early intervention. So if your child had early intervention services, once they turn 3, that transfers to the public school setting. And usually I would be coming out to your home, greeting you, meeting with you, and then Dartmouth does their own testing to see if your child qualifies. So that's one way to get a special education slot. And the majority of the time, that's what happens. But other ways that a child can come in the special education route is we have parents who request testing for their child, and we test them and we find out they do have some delays, and that's how they get in as a special education student. Or sometimes through the screening process, like I said, we screen them. If we find that there's a potential delay, we'll want to do some formal evaluations, and that's another way that your child may come in through the special education, through a special education slot. So there's a difference. Our preschool peer role models are tuition-based. Our special education slots are not. Okay? So preschool tuition is collected on a monthly basis from September to June. It's $450 a month. Many parents opt to pay that right online. You can actually do it through the Town of Dartmouth website, or they send in a check each month, however you feel most comfortable. And just another thing to keep in mind, we do have full-day preschool programs, 9:05 to 3:05, so half-days are not an option, okay? Because I know some parents do look for half-days as opposed to full-day, but here it's a full-day program. And they do make it through, no problem. That 45-minute nap helps. So that's pretty much the overview of the preschool program here. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you might have. All right, thank you very much.